I first noticed something was wrong when Mark stopped looking me in the eyes. 15 years of marriage had taught me to read the small shifts in his behavior like a meteorologist reads storm patterns. This wasn't just a bad day or work stress. His gaze would drift past me, focusing on something invisible behind my shoulder, or down at his phone, which he now carried everywhere like an extension of his hand. "Everything okay?" I'd ask, and he'd nod, mumble something about deadlines, and retreat to his home office, leaving me alone with the dirty dishes and the lingering scent of his cologne. Stronger lately, a detail that settled in my stomach like a stone. Our house felt different too. The same walls, the same furniture we'd picked together during happier times. But the air had changed. It was heavier, charged with words unsaid. I found myself tiptoeing around him, careful not to disturb whatever fragile peace we were maintaining. The kids noticed too. Emily, 13, asked me one night why Dad was always somewhere else, even when he was right there at the dinner table. One Tuesday evening in April, I was folding laundry when his phone buzzed on the counter. I'd never been the type to snoop, had always respected his privacy. But when I saw the name Kate flash across the screen, followed by a heart emoji, something ancient and primal seized my chest. I stood frozen, the warm t-shirt still in my hands, as another message appeared. "Miss you already." Who was Kate? In 15 years, I'd never heard him mention anyone by that name. I put the phone down, my hands suddenly cold and clammy. Maybe it was innocent. A colleague. A friend's wife. The rational part of my brain scrambled for explanations while the intuitive part already knew. The late meetings. The weekend errands that took hours. The renewed interest in his appearance. The emotional distance that had been growing between us like a glacier. I didn't confront him that night. Or the next. I watched him, studied his movements, noted how he angled his phone away from me when texting, how he took calls in the backyard where I couldn't hear. I began to catalog his absences, the inconsistencies in his stories, the business trip to Chicago that showed a credit card charge at a restaurant in town, the meeting that ran late, but his office building had closed at 6. One night, after the kids were asleep, I slipped into his office. His laptop was there, closed, but not locked. I'd never done anything like this before. My heart hammered in my chest as I opened it, the blue light illuminating my face in the dark room. Email. Calendar. Nothing unusual. Then I saw it. A separate email account minimized at the bottom of the screen. I clicked. There they were. Dozens of messages between Mark and Kate. Plans, intimate details, photos, each word a needle in my heart. I read them all, methodically, almost clinically, as if reading about strangers. But they weren't strangers. One of them was the man who had promised to love only me until death parted us. I printed several emails, folded them neatly, and placed them in my bedside drawer. Then I closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it and went back to our bedroom. Mark came home an hour later, kissed my forehead as I pretended to sleep, and whispered that he loved me. I lay awake all night, feeling the weight of his body next to mine, so familiar yet suddenly foreign. The man I'd shared everything with for 15 years, dreams, fears, a home, children, was now a stranger sleeping beside me. And in those dark hours before dawn, as the truth settled into my bones, I made a decision. This silent knowledge would not remain silent for long. I waited 3 more days, gathering evidence like ammunition. I found hotel receipts, discovered text messages, pieced together the timeline of his betrayal. Each discovery was another fracture in the foundation of what I thought was our solid life. I wanted to be absolutely certain before I set fire to everything. Thursday night, Mark called to say he'd be working late again. I heard the background noise of what was clearly not his office. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. "Take your time," I said softly. "I'll be here when you get home." The calm in my voice surprised even me. I sent the kids to my sister's for the night. I set the dining room table with our wedding china, lit candles, poured myself a glass of wine. Then I laid out the evidence, printed emails, screenshots, hotel receipts, beside his plate, a curated exhibit of deceit. At 11:48 p.m., I heard his key in the lock. He walked in humming, carrying the scent of unfamiliar perfume. He stopped short when he saw me sitting at the candlelit table. "Sarah?" What's all this? His voice held confusion, then wariness as he registered my expression. Sit down, Mark. I gestured to the chair across from me, where the evidence lay waiting. He approached slowly, like someone nearing a wild animal. When he saw the papers, his face went through a rapid series of transformations: confusion, shock, denial, and finally, the hollow look of a man caught in his own web. I can explain, he began, but I cut him off with a raised hand. How long? I asked simply. He sank into the chair. 8 months. 8 months. While I was planning our anniversary trip, while I was taking care of his mother after her surgery, while I was helping Emily through her first heartbreak. 8 months of lying to my face. Do you love her? The question surprised us both. Mark stared at the table. I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated. No, Mark. An international peace treaty is complicated. Quantum physics is complicated. This, I gestured to the evidence between us. This is actually quite simple. You made vows to me. You broke them. Repeatedly. Deliberately. I never meant to hurt you, he whispered. Something snapped inside me. Never meant to hurt me? What exactly did you think would happen? That I'd never find out? That I'd be too stupid to notice? Or did you just not care enough to consider how this would destroy me? His eyes filled with tears. Sarah, please. No, you don't get to cry right now. You don't get to make this about your guilt or your confusion or whatever midlife crisis you're having. This is about what you did to us, to our family. I stood up and walked to the window, my back to him. Outside, the neighborhood was dark, except for a few porch lights. Normal homes with normal families who weren't imploding tonight. I want you to leave, I said quietly. Tonight. Take what you need for a few days. I need time to think about what happens next. Sarah, we can work through this. We can get counseling. I turned to face him, surprised by the hollow laugh that escaped me. Counseling? You think this is something we can fix with an hour a week talking to a stranger? You've been living a double life, Mark. You've been looking me in the eye and lying to me day after day. You've been sleeping with another woman and then coming home to our bed. Tell me, what exactly do you think counseling is going to fix? He stood now too, desperation in his voice. I'll end it with her. Right now. I'll call her. The time for that was 8 months ago. Before you ever took her to bed. Before you ever lied to me the first time. I felt oddly calm now, detached almost. I don't want to see your face tonight. I can't even look at you without feeling sick. He tried to approach me, but I stepped back. Don't touch me. Just go. After he left, taking a hastily packed bag and looking back at me with pleading eyes, I refused to meet. I sat alone at the table. The candles had burned low, wax dripping onto the fine china. I gathered the evidence of his betrayal, this archive of pain, and placed it all in a folder. Then I went upstairs to our bedroom, stripped the sheets from the bed, and stuffed them into a garbage bag. I couldn't bear to sleep where he had lain beside me, fresh from another woman's arms. Instead, I made a nest of blankets on the living room sofa, and finally allowed myself to cry. Not delicate tears, but savage, body-racking sobs that felt torn from the center of my being. Morning came with the ruthless clarity of sunshine, through windows I'd forgotten to close. My eyes were swollen, my throat raw. For one merciful moment, I didn't remember. Then it all rushed back. A tidal wave of betrayal washing over me again. The house was so quiet. Without Mark's presence, without the children's morning chaos, I could hear the refrigerator humming, the occasional car passing outside. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen island, staring at the mug between my hands. Yesterday, I had been Mark's wife. Today I was, what? A fool? A victim? I rejected both labels immediately. I refused to be defined by what he had done. My phone buzzed constantly. Mark. Texts, calls, voicemails. I ignored them all. Instead, I called my sister. He did what? Janet's voice rose in disbelief. That absolute bastard. Can the kids stay with you a few more days? I asked. I need time to figure things out. Of course. Take all the time you need. She paused. Do you want me to come over? No, not yet. I need to be alone. After we hung up, I wandered through the house, seeing it with new eyes. Our wedding photo on the wall, His smile now seemed practiced, hollow. The couch where we'd spent countless evenings watching movies, his arm around me. The kitchen where we'd cooked together, dancing to old songs. Every corner held memories now tainted. I opened our joint banking app, the sight of our combined finances. The trust implied in those shared accounts made me nauseated. I took screenshots of everything, then called a lawyer. "I'd like to schedule a consultation," I told the receptionist. "It's about a divorce." The word felt foreign on my tongue. Divorce. So final, so public. Everyone would know. Our friends, our colleagues, our children's teachers. The thought of their pity made me cringe. By afternoon, exhaustion hit me like a physical blow. I hadn't eaten, hadn't showered. I forced myself upstairs, peeled off yesterday's clothes, and stood under the hot water until it ran cold. As I dried off, I caught my reflection in the mirror, pale, hollow-eyed, but still standing. Still me. My phone showed 27 missed calls from Mark. One text caught my eye. "Please talk to me. I'm staying at the Marriott. Room 412. I'll wait here until you're ready." I almost laughed. He thought this was something we could work through, like a disagreement about vacation plans or household chores. He didn't understand that he had detonated our marriage, that the woman who had loved him unconditionally no longer existed. The doorbell rang. I wrapped myself in a robe and went downstairs, expecting Mark, ready to tell him to leave. Instead, I found Janet holding grocery bags. "I know you said not to come," she said, pushing past me into the house. "But I also know you probably haven't eaten all day." She unpacked containers of soup, fresh bread, a bottle of wine. The simple kindness broke something in me, and I started crying again. "I don't know what to do," I admitted as she held me. "Everything feels broken. You don't have to know right now," she said gently. "You just have to survive today. Eat something. Sleep. Tomorrow you can think about the next step." We sat at the kitchen table, eating soup I couldn't taste. Janet didn't offer platitudes or tell me it would all work out. She just sat with me in the wreckage. After she left, I found myself drawn to the backyard. The early spring garden was just beginning to bloom, crocuses pushing through the soil, buds forming on the rose bushes I'd planted years ago. Life continuing, oblivious to human pain. I sat on the old wooden bench and watched the sunset. The sky blazed orange and red, then deepened to purple. Stars appeared one by one. The world was still beautiful, even if my life was in ashes. My phone buzzed again. Mark. I turned it off completely. Tomorrow, I would call the lawyer again. Tomorrow, I would figure out how to tell the children. Tomorrow, I would begin the long process of disentangling my life from his. But tonight, in this moment, I simply existed in the quiet aftermath, breathing in and out, allowing myself to feel the full magnitude of my pain, and, underneath it, the first faint stirrings of something that felt almost like relief. The relief of no more wondering, no more doubting my intuition. The relief of truth, however devastating. In the growing darkness, I made a promise to myself. I would not let his betrayal define me. I would not shrink or disappear. Whatever came next, the legal battles, the division of assets, the reshaping of our family, I would face it with dignity. Not for him, not even for the children, but for myself, for the woman I had always been beneath the title of wife. 3 days after Mark left, I picked up Emily and her younger brother Noah from Janet's house. The drive home was filled with their chatter about movies they'd watched and games they'd played, a blessed distraction from the conversation waiting at home. I caught Janet's eyes in the rearview mirror as we pulled away. She mouthed, "Call me," and I nodded, grateful for her unwavering support. At home, I let them settle in, dumping backpacks in the hallway, raiding the refrigerator, before calling them into the living room. My heart pounded as they settled on the couch, their faces still bright with the innocence of not knowing their world was about to change. "Where's Dad?" Noah asked, glancing around as if Mark might materialize from behind the furniture. At 10, he was still at the age where Dad was his hero. The thought made my throat tighten. "That's what I need to talk to you about." I sat across from them, leaning forward with my elbows on my knees. "Dad isn't living here right now." Emily's face changed immediately, a shadow crossing her features. At 13, she was perceptive beyond her years. Are you guys getting divorced? She asked directly. The word hung in the air. Noah's eyes widened, darting between his sister and me. We're taking some time apart, I said carefully. Dad has been seeing someone else. Another woman. He's cheating on you? Emily's voice was flat with disbelief. I nodded, watching their faces absorb this new reality. Noah's chin began to tremble. But why? Doesn't he love us anymore? Oh, sweetheart. I moved to sit between them, pulling Noah against me. Dad loves you both very much. This isn't about you at all. It's about choices Dad made that hurt our marriage. Where is he staying? Emily asked, her voice small. At a hotel right now. But he wants to see you both, this weekend, if you're ready. Noah buried his face against my shoulder. Emily stood up abruptly, her fists clenched. I don't want to see him. Ever. How could he do this to us? To you? Her voice cracked. We were supposed to be a family. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away, storming upstairs. The sound of her bedroom door slamming echoed through the house. Noah looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. I still want to see Dad. Of course you can see Dad, I assured him, stroking his hair. This is going to be hard for a while, but we'll figure it out together. After Noah went to his room, I sat alone, emotionally drained. The children's reactions had been exactly what I'd feared and expected. The stark difference between them tore at my heart. How would I navigate this minefield of their emotions while managing my own? Later that evening, I knocked on Emily's door with a mug of hot chocolate, her favorite since childhood. Go away, came her muffled voice. It's just me, Em, with chocolate. A pause, then, fine. She was curled on her bed, eyes red from crying, her phone clutched in her hand. I sat on the edge of the mattress offering the mug. He texted me, she said, her voice thick with anger. Said he was sorry and wants to explain. I took a deep breath. Despite everything, I couldn't let my own pain poison my children against their father. Maybe you should let him. She looked at me in disbelief. How can you say that? After what he did? Because he's still your dad, Em. And whatever happened between us doesn't change that. The words felt like stones in my mouth, but I knew they were right. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be hurt. But someday, you might want a relationship with him again, and I don't want to be the reason you don't have that option. She was quiet for a long time, sipping her chocolate. Does it hurt? Seeing us upset with him? What hurts is seeing you in pain, I answered honestly. That's the hardest part of all this. Emily leaned against me then, the first time she'd sought physical comfort since the news. Will we be okay, Mom? The three of us? I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, feeling her body shake with silent tears. Yes, I promised. Different, but okay. I'm not going anywhere. That night, after they were asleep, I finally called Mark. His voice was eager, desperate when he answered. Sarah, thank God. The kids know, I interrupted. Emily's angry. Noah's confused. They need to see you. When? I can come right now. No. Saturday, 2 o'clock. Take them somewhere public. Bring them back by 6. My voice was steady, businesslike. And Mark? Don't make promises you can't keep. They've been hurt enough. I hung up before he could respond, before I could weaken. My children needed one parent they could count on absolutely. I was determined to be that anchor in the storm we were all weathering. The lawyer's office was aggressively beige. Walls, carpet, furniture, as if designed to be forgettable. Patricia Winters, however, was unforgettable. In her mid-50s with steel gray hair cut in a precise bob, she radiated competence and a no-nonsense attitude that immediately put me at ease. Tell me everything, she said, placing a legal pad between us. And don't leave anything out. The things you're most embarrassed about are usually the most relevant. I started with the discovery of the affair and ended with my current living situation. Patricia took notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she looked up from her pad. How long have you been a stay-at-home mom? 8 years, since Noah was born. She nodded, tapping her pen against the pad. That's significant. You've supported Mark's career by managing the household and raising the children. I worked part-time remotely for a while, but yes, mostly I've been home. And what did you do before children? Marketing. I was a brand manager at Linton and Hayes. She made another note. Do you want the house? The question caught me off guard. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Start thinking, she advised. Because Mark certainly is. Men like him, successful, methodical, accustomed to control, they plan. The moment you confronted him, he started calculating assets. Her words chilled me. Mark had always handled our finances. I knew we were comfortable, but the details were fuzzy. I need you to do some homework, Patricia said, sliding a folder across the desk. Bank statements, investment accounts, retirement funds, property deeds, insurance policies. Gather everything. And Sarah? Her eyes were kind but serious. Don't tell Mark you're doing this. Don't tell him you've seen me. Is that legal? Perfectly. You're entitled to information about marital assets. But men like Mark often try to hide money when they see divorce coming. Knowledge is power. I left her office with a strange mixture of dread and determination. That afternoon, while the kids were at school, I began searching. Mark's home office yielded little. He was too careful for that. But our bedroom closet, behind a stack of winter sweaters, revealed a locked metal box I'd never seen before. I tried birthday combinations, our anniversary, the kids' birth years. Nothing worked. Frustrated, I was about to give up when I remembered Mark's childhood address. The numbers clicked into place, and the box opened. Inside were documents for an account I didn't recognize, in a bank across town. The most recent statement showed a balance of nearly $300,000. My hands trembled as I photographed everything, then returned the box exactly as I'd found it. I felt sick. How long had he been planning this? How many other secrets was he keeping? The next day, Mark called about seeing the children. His voice was contrite, careful. I'd like to take them to dinner Friday. Is that okay? That's fine, I said, keeping my voice neutral. And Sarah? Can we talk? Really talk? I've been doing a lot of thinking. I can't do this right now, Mark. He sighed. I understand. I want you to know I'm getting help. Therapy. I'm trying to understand why I did this. The words sparked unexpected anger. That's wonderful for you. I'm so glad you're finding personal growth in the ruins of our marriage. That's not fair. Fair? I almost laughed. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair when you were sleeping with another woman while I was taking care of your children? Was it fair when you were hiding money in a secret account? Silence. Then, what account? The one with $300,000 at First National. The one you've been feeding for? How long, Mark? How long have you been preparing your escape? Sarah, it's not what you think. Save it for your lawyer. I hung up, my heart racing. 10 minutes later, Janet called. Mark just showed up at my house looking for you. He seems panicked. Don't tell him anything, I said quickly. I found something, Jan. He's been hiding money. That son of a bitch, she breathed. What are you going to do? Follow my lawyer's advice. Document everything and keep quiet. The next morning, I received a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. About Mark. It's important. It was signed Kate. My blood ran cold. I showed the message to Patricia during our emergency meeting that afternoon. Interesting, she said, tapping a fingernail against her coffee mug. She's reaching out to you, not him. That suggests conflict between them. What should I do? Meet her. Public place, daytime. Hear what she has to say. It could be valuable. I don't think I can face her, I admitted. Patricia leaned forward. Sarah, I understand. But this isn't about your feelings right now. It's about gathering intelligence. If she's willing to talk, we should listen. I nodded reluctantly. Good. Now, about that account. I've already filed for an emergency injunction to freeze it. Mark can't touch that money now. Her smile was thin and satisfied. You should expect him to be very unhappy about that. She was right. That evening, Mark showed up at the house unannounced, his face flushed with anger. You froze my account? You had no right. I stood in the doorway, not inviting him in. No right? It's marital property, Mark. Property you deliberately hid from me. It was for the kids' college funds. In an account only you could access, with no mention of education anywhere on the paperwork? Try again. His facade cracked. You're punishing me. I get it. I deserve it. But don't drag this through the courts. We can settle this between ourselves. I studied his face, the face I'd loved for 15 years, the face that had lied to me countless times. No, we can't, because I don't trust you anymore, and I never will again. The cafe was busy enough to provide anonymity, but quiet enough for conversation. I arrived 20 minutes early, choosing a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. My stomach churned with anxiety, my palms damp against the ceramic mug of tea I couldn't bring myself to drink. When she walked in, I recognized her immediately, though we'd never met. Kate, younger than me, but not by as much as I'd feared. Tall, with honey blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, casual clothes. She looked nervous, scanning the room until our eyes met. Recognition flickered across her face. She approached my table hesitantly. "Sarah?" I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from me. Up close, she looked tired, with shadows under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite conceal. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, placing her purse on the table between us like a barrier. "I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't," I admitted, but curiosity won out. She ordered coffee when the server came by, then faced me directly. "I'm not going to insult you by apologizing. What happened was wrong, and words won't fix it." Her directness surprised me. I'd expected excuses, perhaps tears. "Then why are we here?" Kate took a deep breath. "Because Mark isn't who either of us thought he was, and you deserve to know the truth." She opened her purse and withdrew a small stack of papers, sliding them across the table. "These are transfer records. From his private account to mine, and then from mine to another account in the Caymans." I stared at the papers, not touching them. "Why would he transfer money to you?" "He said it was for us to start over somewhere else. He promised we'd leave together once everything was set up." Her voice was flat, without emotion. "He told me his marriage was over, that you were separating amicably, but he needed to protect his assets because you were trying to take everything." A cold feeling settled in my chest. "And you believed him?" "At first, yes. But then I found out I wasn't the first. There was someone before me. Maybe others." The room seemed to tilt. "How did you find out?" "His phone. He was in the shower, and a message came through from someone named Diane. It was intimate. When I confronted him, he admitted they'd been involved years ago but swore it was over." She looked down at her untouched coffee. "I did some digging. Diane works at his company's Chicago office. They still see each other when he travels there. The revelation shouldn't have hurt. What was one more betrayal after so many? But it did. Not just the additional affair, but the scale of the deception. Mark hadn't just betrayed me. He'd built an entire architecture of lies." "Why are you telling me this?" I finally asked. "Because he's using both of us, and because—" She faltered for the first time. "I'm pregnant." The word hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself. "Does he know?" Kate nodded. "I told him last week. He said he needed time to think. Then yesterday, he told me he was getting back together with you, for the kids' sake, that we should take a break while he sorts things out." I almost laughed. Mark had spent the past week begging me for another chance, all while juggling Kate, and apparently this Diane as well. The audacity was almost impressive. "I'm not getting back together with him," I said. "That ship has sailed." Relief flashed across her face. "I thought families often try to work things out. Not this family. Not after this." I finally reached for the papers, scanning the figures. The amounts were substantial. "Have you shown these to anyone else?" "No, but I've made copies." She hesitated. "I'm not after his money, Sarah. I can take care of myself and the baby. I just want him out of our lives. Why not just leave? Why come to me?" "Because he'll try to control me through the baby. I know him now, how he operates, how he manipulates. He'll promise the world, then change the terms. I needed leverage." I studied her face, looking for deception. I found only exhaustion and resignation. "May I keep these?" I asked, indicating the papers. She nodded. "There's something else you should know. Mark's company is under investigation, securities fraud. It's not public yet, but there are rumors. He's been moving assets offshore for months. Not just personal funds, company money too." The implications hit me immediately. If Mark was involved in fraud, our family assets could be at risk. The house, the children's college funds, everything. How do you know this? I work in compliance at Brenner Financial. We handle some of his company's accounts. I can't say more. I've already violated confidentiality laws by telling you this much. We sat in silence. Two women connected by the same man's betrayal. Under different circumstances, I might have hated her. Now, I felt an odd kinship. What will you do? I asked. Move back to Seattle. My sister's there. Start over. She met my eyes directly. And you? Protect my children. And make sure Mark faces consequences. Kate nodded. He's careful, methodical. Don't underestimate him. I won't. Not again. I hesitated, then added, thank you. For coming forward. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. She stood, gathering her purse. I'm doing it for me. And for my baby. I watched her leave. This woman who had been my enemy in absentia for months. Now she was, not a friend exactly, but an ally of sorts. In the wreckage of my marriage, I was finding strength in unexpected places. I texted Patricia immediately. Need to meet. Today, if possible. New information about Mark, and we need to talk about potential fraud charges. Her response came quickly. 3 p.m., bring everything. I paid for the untouched drinks and left, the papers safely tucked in my bag. The morning air felt cleaner somehow, as if a fog had lifted. For the first time since discovering Mark's betrayal, I felt something like hope. Not for reconciliation, that door was firmly closed, but for justice, for a future reclaimed from the ashes of his lies.